Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony Fleet watched the primitive blue world through the bridge's main viewer, his four eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of contempt among his species. The intelligence reports had been laughably simple. A young species called humans had barely achieved interstellar travel, possessed crude weapons, and showed alarming tendencies toward self-destruction. Perfect candidates for subjugation. "Begin the bombardment of their military installations," Zethkar commanded, his translator converting his chittering into the standard galactic tongue. "Make it swift. I want this planet pacified before the next cycle." The Hegemony had conquered 47 worlds using this exact strategy. Disable their defenses, land occupation forces, establish control. Simple, efficient. The humans would be no different. The first wave of plasma bombardments lit up Earth's night sky like deadly aurora. Military bases across 6 continents erupted in flames. Satellite networks went dark. The primitive human fleet, barely 300 vessels, scattered like insects before a storm. "Excellent," Zethkar hissed. "Deploy ground forces to major population centers. Standard occupation protocol." But as the massive Hegemony dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected began happening. The humans weren't surrendering. They weren't cowering in their shelters, waiting for mercy that would never come. They were fighting back. Lieutenant Vextal, leading the assault on what humans called New York, found himself pinned down in the rubble of a collapsed building. These weren't the panicked civilians his briefings had described. These humans moved with tactical precision, using the urban landscape itself as a weapon. They emerged from underground tunnels, struck without warning, then vanished into structures that seemed to shift and change around them. "Command, we need reinforcements," Vextal transmitted, plasma fire erupting around his position. "The humans have turned their entire city into a fortress." "Impossible," came Zethkar's reply. "They lack military training." Vextal ducked as an improvised explosive device, crafted from household chemicals, detonated nearby. "Tell that to my dead soldiers, Commander." Across the globe, similar reports flooded in. In London, humans had weaponized their underground transport system, turning it into a lethal maze. In Tokyo, they'd somehow reversed the polarity on their power grid, electrifying entire city blocks. In the Australian outback, groups of humans appeared and disappeared like ghosts, using knowledge of their harsh environment to devastating effect. But it was in the farming regions where the Hegemony truly began to understand their error. Captain Morden watched in horror as his armored division, designed to crush the resistance of entire worlds, sank into what appeared to be solid ground. The humans had flooded their fields, turning fertile farmland into an impassable bog. When his remaining forces tried to circumvent the trap, they found themselves facing farmers armed with hunting rifles, construction equipment converted into weapons, and an intimate knowledge of every hill, valley, and stream. "These aren't warriors," Mordun reported, his voice shaking. "These are everyone. Children running messages between fighters. Elderly humans providing intelligence. Their entire population has become an army." Zethkar felt the first stirrings of something his species rarely experienced: doubt. The occupation should have been complete within hours. Instead, 3 days had passed and his forces controlled nothing beyond their landing zones. Then the broadcast began. Every human communication device still functioning carried the same message, transmitted from hidden locations across the planet. A woman's voice, calm and clear, speaking words that would echo through galactic history. "To the Hegemony forces currently occupying our world. You came here believing we were weak because we fight amongst ourselves. You saw our conflicts and assumed we could never unite. You made a crucial miscalculation. We don't fight each other because we're weak. We fight each other because we're strong enough to survive it. And when an outside threat emerges, when someone tries to take our home, our freedom, our future, we remember who we really are. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues, that turned deserts into gardens and split the atom. We are the descendants of those who crossed oceans in wooden boats and reached for the stars with nothing but fire and mathematics. You wanted to see what humans could do? Now you'll learn. The broadcast ended, but the effect rippled through every human settlement, every resistance cell, every survivor clinging to life in the ruins. They had been reminded of something the hegemony couldn't understand. Humans drew strength not from their technology or their weapons, but from their refusal to surrender what they held sacred. On the fourth day, the impossible happened. Human forces launched a coordinated counterattack. Using salvaged alien technology, improvised weapons, and tactics that defied conventional military doctrine, they began retaking their world. They fought from the ruins of their cities, from the depths of their oceans, from the thin air of their mountains. They fought like they had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Commander Zeth Kar found himself in the unthinkable position of ordering a retreat. As his battered fleet limped away from Earth's gravity well, he transmitted a message that would change galactic policy forever. Command, the human pacification has failed. Recommend immediate reclassification of species threat level. These beings, they don't just fight for territory or resources. They fight for concepts, freedom, dignity, hope. They cannot be conquered because they refuse to accept conquest. Mark their system as forbidden. We have learned what humans can do when threatened. We must ensure we never threaten them again. Years later, when the first human ambassadors arrived at the Galactic Council, they carried with them the reputation their homeworld had earned, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as the species too stubborn to break, too creative to defeat, and too unified in purpose to be anything but free. The galaxy had learned what humans could do. Now they knew